the Chicago Blackhawks have a huge chance to make a massive signing before the trade deadline comes in early March. We also have some major prospect updates along the NCAA scene that have a very good sign for the Blackhawks in this future. So we're going to talk about all of that in this video. But before we do, we notice that 83% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. So if you're looking for a spot to get all your Blackhawks news as it happens, you're in the right spot. Make sure to hit that sub button. Join us along in the journey to hopefully the first overall pick. But we're going to start this one off here today with a huge signing coming. Now, this is a great possibility for the Blackhawks if this does come to fruition. Pierre LeBrun said today on Insider Trading that Phil Kessel has not given up on hope that he would like to play in the NHL this season. His camp is still in contact with a couple teams. And there was an article coming out from this as well that says his camp is still contacted by a couple of teams. One thing that is in consideration here is that because he hasn't played since last year, that it might be a team or two that says, hey, come skate with us for a bit so we can take a look at you and see where things are. He's been skating and trying to stay ready, but after Zach Parise and Corey Perry found homes, it might be a chance that Phil Kessel could finally be back before the March 8th deadline, and we'll see about that. So Noah, what do you think about Phil Kessel on the Blackhawks, let's just say? We know that... We know what kind of what kind of player Phil Kessel is at this point in his career. He's been a very solid player his entire career, and I think it just suits the Blackhawks for this season to try and fill up a spot due to all these injuries. So what do you think?
Well, I mean, he's a fan favorite. I think that's pretty safe to say. I mean, we're all rooting for him to come back, and I mean, even if it's on the Blackhawks or on another team, I think the whole league could kind of be behind it. But I like him on Chicago. Yeah, I mean, they need any bit of offense they can get. So I think, maybe a veteran, or not a veteran minimum, that's the NBA, but like a league minimum, like maybe a 750, 850K 1-year deal, come in, play 30, whatever the 20 or 30 games we have left. I think I could see it, but I also would love him on a Stanley Cup contender. Maybe try and go for one last run, be a third or a fourth line player, win that. I think he's got 3 Stanley Cups now, if I'm not mistaken, win that 4th Stanley Cup. I mean, everybody would say how much better he is. Everybody knows he's already, accomplished everything. But I think getting that 4th Stanley Cup would just be awesome for his resume and for his career. And I think for fans too, I think even if you're not a fan of whatever team he joins, I think we'd all be rooting for him a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. And I've seen a lot of people say that the Blackhawks don't really need to add anybody. They don't need the goal scoring because it will hurt their draft stock. But I really don't think one player such as Phil Kessel, such as Andrei Kuzmenko, is going to change this team by any means, Yeah. It don't matter, they're not going to go out and score 3 goals a game, and that's what the Blackhawks have been losing by, a lot this season. They've been losing a lot of very close games, but they've also been blown out a few games as well, and I really don't think one player like this will hurt the Blackhawks by draft stock. I think it'll only help them in the dressing room, especially a player like Phil Kessel, who he knows can keep spirits high, keep things light in the dressing room, not put anything too heavy on your conscience, your soul in this locker room. And I think Phil Kessel is just kind of that perfect player, along with Nick Foligno, Peter Mrazek, Jason Dickinson, those veteran guys that the Blackhawks have right now that would help them along this season. So if the Blackhawks are one of the teams that are currently talking to Phil Kessel, I think it's a perfect idea to bring him along. Like I said, he's not a young player that's going to go out and score a whole bunch of goals. He's definitely a goal scorer in his career, but he's not someone that's going to turn your season around for the better of things. Yeah. But he's one thing very quickly here. He's 8 points off 1,000. And I think, no matter who you are, but especially Phil Kessel, he deserves that. I'm sure he wants that as well. I think that bring him back, get him the 8 points, let him stay off into the sunset. I think that's the perfect thing for Phil in his career now.
Yeah. I also think, I like what you said about the young locker room. Maybe you bring him in this year for 30 games and then you see what happens. He probably isn't going to be that high point production like you said, but you're going to have, a young room again next year. Connor Bedard will be back. You assume some of their top prospects will be up with the team. Bring him in as a locker room guy. We've seen how well Nick Foligno succeeded with that. How everybody says how well, Nick Foligno is respected and I mean, to an extent, I guess Corey Perry. We won't talk about that too much, but I think it's a good move, to be honest with you.
No, it is. It's a perfect thing for the younger guys, having that veteran leadership, someone who has won, like you said, 3 Stanley Cups, someone who's been there and done that. That's really what this team needs right now. Someone who's done a lot in the NHL, can give the experience, share the experiences with these younger guys, and show them the way to success. And Phil Kessel is a perfect one for that. But on the topic of prospects, we have some very good things coming. This future is very bright for the Chicago Blackhawks. The Big Ten recently released their top 3 stars of the week. Number 1 and 2 are both representatives of your Chicago Blackhawks, Frank Nazar and Oliver Moore. Two absolute studs, I guess you could say, for this team.
Yep.
Two of the team's top prospects, and who are going to be insane for this team for years to come. Frank Nazar, number 1 on this the stars of the week for this team. Scored the game-winning goal, placed 5 shots on goal, and won 15 faceoffs in a 5-1 Wolverines win against the nation's top defense on Friday. He's one of 6 Michigan players averaging over a point per game this season, averaging 1.33 points. And Oliver Moore, obviously we know about him with Minnesota. Compiles 4 points on the weekend as they split the road against Michigan State. Notched goals both nights, scoring twice in Minnesota's 5-1 win on Saturday. And Noah, we know both these guys are insane. And we know these are kind of the household names right now for Chicago fans. But how important is it for you that the Blackhawks have prospects like these guys that are ready to come up over the next few seasons, ready to make their way into the NHL with the team the Blackhawks have now? You know, this team, let's just say it's bad, but it could be a lot worse. You know, they could have no prospects on this team, nobody succeeding at all. But we've seen some promising things from some people on this team. So, what do you think? What do you think the importance is of having guys like this ready to come up in the NHL going into the next season?
You know, they've kind of like built around these guys, you know, like they took those guys with the sole idea of them being on the NHL roster and those guys being NHL caliber players. And I mean, if them being the first and second star in the NCAA, like there's a lot of talent in the NCAA. And if the fact that they're 1 and 2, I mean, just shows that the future is bright. And I mean, it gives us kind of motivation and kind of like makes us want to continue to cover these guys and see what the future holds. So I mean, I'm really, really excited for these guys, and I think if you play them, I mean, we talk about playing this guy with Connor Bedard and this guy with Connor Bedard and that guy. I mean, if you have guys like Frank Nazar and Oliver Moore who are also really, really talented and like, I would say Frank Nazar is elite. I'm not still a little bit on the teeter-totter about Oliver Moore being that elite. That just shows how the depth you have, and Chicago could be very, very scary coming up.
Yeah, I like what you said about building around these guys. You know, these are the players that you draft knowing that as soon as they come out of college, they will be in the NHL. I really don't see these guys in the AHL come next season or whenever they decide to finish college. These guys are going straight from college to the NHL. I think they've earned that right. We've seen what they've done in the World Juniors. We've seen what they've done in college, representing their country. You know, these guys are the players you select to build this team around. You know, you obviously have Connor Bedard. You have Lucas Reichel, who has been struggling lately, but still is supposed to be that guy that this team is going to be built around. And then you have a bunch of these guys like Nazar and Moore in college, in the Canadian Junior League, overseas. A lot of these guys that are going to come in and really make this team what it's supposed to be and the next dynasty in a few seasons. I'm very excited to see what these guys do. And, you know, this is not just this week that we see them on 1 and 2. There's been many other weeks where they've been featured in, like, the top 5, top 10, close to every week this season. So that just kind of shows what kind of performance they're putting on in some of the top schools across the USA. But, you know, I'm very excited to see this evolution of these guys.
Yeah. And even to go past those guys like Nazar and Oliver Moore, I mean, Sam Rinzel's having a really good season in oh my God, I forget where he plays now, but he's having a really, really good season. We're keeping an eye on him. Drew Comesso down in the AHL, Adam Guyon in Green Bay. You know, there's so much talent on this team, and as painful as it is to watch the team right now, in 2 to 3 years, this is going to be completely different, and they're going to be such an exciting team to watch. It's motivating, I guess is the best way to put it.
No, it surely is exciting, and it's something to keep a close eye on. Because like you said, we're going to see some of these kids potentially at the end of this year, one of them hopefully being Landon Slaggert, who looks very exciting to watch. Right. So, you know, the future's bright. It's coming very, very quickly. So sit down, relax, watch the team right now as they're bad, and we'll laugh at this in a few years, remembering how good they're going to be. So, you know, that's all we got. Let us know down below what you think about these prospects this team has. And what about Phil Kessel? I want to know what you guys think. It's a bit of an interesting one. I think a lot of teams want him. Yeah. I think it really depends on where he wants to go. If he wants a cup. I think he really just wants to get 1,000 points, to be honest with you. So I think he should get that with the Chicago Blackhawks. But let me know what you think. But thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.